Hello and welcome. The H-1B is one of the most popular work visa categories, and because of its popularity, there are a lot of myths surrounding the H-1B visa program. Let's go ahead and try to debunk some of these myths. Myth number 1, there are only 65,000 H-1Bs available each year. The reality, while the H-1B cap is technically only 65,000 per year, an additional 20,000 H-1Bs are set aside for foreign nationals who have earned a master's degree or higher from a qualifying U.S. institution of higher education, thus taking the total H-1B cap limit to 85,000. There are also other exemptions or exceptions from the H-1B cap, that is, cap-exempt petitions. Let's look at a few examples. An H-1B petition filed on behalf of a foreign national who's already in the U.S. in H-1B status and who's already been counted against the H-1B cap would be cap exempt. As an example, an H-1B change of employer petition filed by a new employer on behalf of a foreign national who's already in the U.S. in H-1B status is a cap exempt petition. H-1B petitions filed by employers who are nonprofit research organizations, government research organizations, or post-secondary educational institutions like universities and colleges, and their nonprofit affiliates are also cap exempt. H-1B petitions filed on behalf of foreign nationals who work primarily at these entities may also be cap exempt even if the actual employer is a for-profit company. For example, a physician who's privately employed by an agency but works at a university-affiliated hospital may qualify for cap exemption. Myth number 2. I have a bachelor's degree, so I automatically qualify for the H-1B, right? Not necessarily. A bachelor's degree is only one of the requirements for an H-1B. The job offered must require a bachelor's degree in a specific field or specialty as a minimum for entry into the position, and the foreign national's educational qualifications must match those requirements. For example, the normal requirement for an accountant is a bachelor's degree in accounting. Therefore, a foreign national won't qualify for the H-1B if his or her degree is in marketing. Myth number 3. To qualify for the H-1B, I have to prove that I intend to return to my home country and my authorized stay in the U.S. has expired. Unlike the F1 or the B1, the H-1B is a dual intent visa, meaning you can have an intention to apply for the green card in the U.S. and still obtain the H-1B. Myth number 4. Only large companies can file for H-1B visas. Not true. A U.S. employer of any size may petition for an H-1B employee as long as it's a U.S. entity with an employer identification number, while smaller companies may have to provide additional financial and business information to establish their need for the proposed position and that they are operational. There are no minimum employee or business revenue requirements. In fact, even startups can file an H-1B petition. Myth number 3. The U.S. employer has to prove that it could not find any U.S. suitable U.S. workers before filing a H-1B petition. That's not true. Most U.S. employers are not required to prove that they have attempted to recruit U.S. workers before filing an H-1B petition. The only exceptions are for H-1B dependent employers. That is, employers whose workforce is at least 15% of those in H-1B status. These employers may need to take an additional recruitment step. Myth number 6. I can start working as soon as my U.S. employer files the H-1B petition. Not necessarily. It will depend on the foreign national's current immigration status and the timing of the H-1B approval. For example, if the foreign national is already in the U.S. in H-1B status, he or she can begin working for a new employer as soon as the new company files an H-1B transfer petition on their behalf, or a change of employer petition. In other scenarios, the foreign national may need to wait for the H-1B approval before legally starting to work. As an example, if the foreign national holds F1 status and does not have any work authorization like an OPT, that person must wait for the H-1B approval before he or she can start working. Myth number 7, a person who is in F1 status with optional practical training that expires on August 1st needs to wait until the H-1B kicks in before he or she can start working, right? Not really. Under the current rules, called cap gap, if an H-1B cap petition is filed before the foreign national's F1 OPT expires, he or she can continue to work even after it has, all the way until September 30th. If the H-1B is approved for an October 1st start date, the OPT will continue to be valid until September 30th, and then status will change from F1 to H-1B on October 1st. If in the intervening time the H-1B is denied, he or she must stop working. Let's look at a case scenario for a better understanding. Peter finished his bachelor's degree in biology in the US while on F1 student visa and graduated in June 2019. He timely filed for and received optional practical training for 1 year. His position as a laboratory technician in a cancer research lab has worked out really well, and his employer wants to keep him. Peter's OPT expires on July 26, 2020. His employer submits an H-1B cap registration on his behalf in March 2020, which is then selected in the H-1B lottery. His employer then files an H-1B petition for him on July 1st, 2020, with an October 1st start date. That's the earliest an H-1B is available for Peter. Does Peter have to start working on July 26th when his OPT expires? Since his employer filed an H-1B petition for Peter before his current F1 OPT expired, Peter qualified for cap gap, under which his OPT was automatically extended until October 1st, allowing him to remain in the US and to continue working. Myth number 8. Once I have an H-1B visa, I can work for any employer, right? The reality is no. H-1Bs are employer specific, meaning the foreign national can only work for the petitioning employer. If the foreign national wants to also work for another employer, the new employer must file a concurrent H-1B petition. If the person wants to change employers, the new employer needs to file a change of employer petition. Myth number 9. Foreign nationals can't travel outside the US while on H-1B visa. Absolutely not. That is wrong. A foreign national can travel in and out of the US freely as long as he or she has a valid H-1B visa stamped in his or her passport. Myth number 10. H-1B workers don't have to pay US taxes. The reality is that all H-1B workers are required to pay the same taxes on income as US workers. They pay the same Social Security, unemployment, and state taxes. Myth number 11. My employer cannot terminate me from employment as long as my H-1B is valid. That is completely wrong. There is no such thing as guaranteed employment based on an H-1B visa. Subject to state employment laws, an employer can dismiss or terminate the employment of an H-1B worker at any time during the validity period of the H-1B visa. However, in such a situation, the employer would be responsible for the foreign national's reasonable cost of return transportation to his or her country if he or she chooses to return. Also, if the employment is terminated, the foreign national is eligible for a grace period of 60 days or until their H-1B validity expires, whichever is shorter, where he or she continues to remain in H-1B status and can look for new employment in the US. So, whether you're an H-1B employer wishing to file an H-1B petition for your employee or a foreign national interested in the H-1B visa, make sure that you're guided only by the realities about the H-1B program. VisaPro attorneys have been helping our clients secure thousands of H-1Bs with a near 100% success rate. We'd like to help you integrate our success strategies into your H-1B filings. If you need any assistance with the H-1B or information regarding the H-1B visa program, please call us at 202-787-1944 or send an email to rose.kelly@visapro.com. We'll talk through your priorities and recommend strategies for your H-1B filing based on our prior successes. If you wish to continue to receive updates on these topics and more, subscribe to our newsletter by visiting www.visapro.com/visa-newsletter-subscription. Have a great day.